completed his move to Bayern Munich. James, this is for a substantial amount of money for a 28-year-old.
It absolutely is, and even then, I don't think Liverpool really wanted to let him go. We've been reporting on the transfer shows throughout this summer that he was not for sale, and Liverpool made that clear to Bayern Munich and to Barcelona, but they've reluctantly accepted for a number of reasons. A, the fee, £65 million. They think that represents his market value, and when you consider the fact he wanted to leave, he's been exploring moves elsewhere. He's 28, and there was little chance of him signing a contract renewal with 2 years left in his contract. It does make a lot of sense, and Liverpool are making a profit of around £22 million on a player who's given them really good service over the course of 3.5 seasons. He first spoke about wanting to leave last summer, but Liverpool held firm. They wanted to assess their options in the market and what they had. They didn't sign any players last summer, aside from Federico Chiesa, but now, with the players they've been able to bring in, it does make sense, and that fee is so significant. In fact, only 7 players over the age of 28 have commanded a higher fee. And there's some big players on that list. I think it's been a really good summer as well, it's worth saying, in terms of Liverpool and player sales. They've generated already, when this deal goes through, which it has today, more than £130 million when it comes to Diaz, Gerald Quansah, Gavin Kelleher and Trent Alexander-Arnold departing. And Darwin Núñez looks like he could be a player likely to depart. I think that's going to be more of a difficult situation whereby Liverpool are going to struggle to make a profit on him, because the deal they signed him on could reach £85 million if all the bonuses and add-ons were met. It feels like Liverpool would have to take a significant hit, but there is interest in him right now. AC Milan and Juventus. Napoli looked at him earlier on the window. They signed somebody else in that area of the pitch, but Darwin Núñez, you'd think his time is up at Liverpool, potentially. Been a really good summer so far for Liverpool, and it could get even better. Yeah, really interesting development that Diaz has gone, considering Liverpool said just a few weeks ago, I was on this very show, saying he is not for sale at any price. Right, got you. We've seen what Liverpool are doing. They're bringing in a lot of players. Darmesh, Ekitike's come in, Diaz is gone. So Isak, coming, not coming? What's the latest?
I mean, Newcastle United fans must be sick to the back teeth that this topic is continuing to be spoken about in this transfer window. From the outset, it's looking pretty ominous if you're a Newcastle United fan, because can they keep hold of Alexander Isak? If you just take it on face value, yes, they can. They hold the cards. He's still got 3 years left on his contract. However, the narrative around his future seems to be changing. He's not on the tour with what was described as a minor thigh issue. It's since emerged he wants to explore other options away from Newcastle United. And possibly more significantly, whenever you listen to Eddie Howe now on this tour, some of those quotes would probably fill Newcastle United fans with a lot of concern. We hope he stays. I want him to stay, but I'm not in full control of whether he stays. Like I said to you, face value, Newcastle United can do what they want. He's got 3 years left on his contract. But the fact of the matter is, they've got a big issue here, because the player's head has clearly been turned with this interest from Liverpool. And we've seen so many occasions when you have a situation like this, how this kind of situation plays itself out. And more often than not, what usually happens, and I'm not saying it's going to happen with Alexander Isak in this situation, but what usually happens is that the player gets his way because he doesn't want to stay at the club, and the club end up cashing in and cashing in big time on him.
Newcastle are in such a difficult situation. It felt like in the beginning of the summer they were in a great place. They qualified for the Champions League. They had money to spend. They'd sorted out the issues with PSR, which meant they could attack this transfer window. But a number of players they've tried to sign, they've not been able to. The likes of Brian Mbeumo, João Pedro, James Trafford. That was no fault of their own, but they couldn't get him through the door. And it means Eddie Howe and this squad are in a really difficult place heading into the new season, with just over 2 weeks to go until the season starts. Anthony Elanga has come in, but you look at what happened in their pre-season fixture today. The only fit striker they have right now is the 21-year-old William Asuda. He's got 1 Premier League goal. They have very high hopes for him. So they potentially need to sign 2 strikers in this transfer window, because Callum Wilson's no longer there. I think they're going to struggle potentially to get £150 million for Alexander Isak, despite the fact the club have put themselves in a brilliant situation. 3 years left in his contract, but Newcastle need to start acting now when it comes to setting themselves up for the season. Will Isak be there for the first game of the season? If they are to sign 2 strikers, we know Benjamin Sesko is a player of interest. Johan Wissa, it's a transfer they're exploring. That could cost more than £100 million, at which point you'd think maybe they'd need to sell Alexander Isak to bring in the 2 players to try to replace him. It's going to be absolutely fascinating to see what Newcastle and Eddie Howe do, because it has been such a difficult summer after having that massive boost of qualifying and getting themselves back into the Champions League.
What was interesting?
Get over the line with Wissa?
Well, what was interesting was when Eddie Howe was saying, we're not going to bury our heads in the sand. They know what's going on. Eddie Howe is a very experienced manager. He's seen players come and go from every club that he's managed. And he's seen a situation like Alexander Isak before as well. So it's like, we need to act like James said. There's only a couple of weeks, a little over 2 weeks to go until the Premier League season starts. The Johan Wissa one has turned a little bit unsavoury. Brentford are expecting Wissa and the rest of the squad to return to training tomorrow. They were on that Portugal training camp, which Wissa returned home early from to sort out his future. They came back on Tuesday, a couple of days off, and then back into training at their training ground in West London on Thursday. However, we are told that while Wissa will come back to the training ground, it's not his intention to train with the team or to play with the team. So again, there's a big issue brewing here as well. He is angry, according to a source that I've spoken to, and disappointed about the way Brentford have approached any talk of his future. He's still hoping, beyond all hope, that Newcastle United have not given up on signing him, because he wants to go to Newcastle United. He feels that at 28 years old, going on 29, with a year left on his contract at Brentford with a one-year option, this is effectively going to be his last chance to be able to play Champions League football. He thinks this is the time now for him to move. But Brentford don't want to let him go. Brian Mbeumo's already gone to Manchester United. Christian Norgard, their captain, has gone to Arsenal. Thomas Frank, the head coach, has left and he's gone to Tottenham Hotspur. They don't want to lose Johan Wissa, but Johan Wissa is thinking about his own future. I want to play Champions League football. This is my big opportunity to do just that, and hence why he may be taking what some people say is extreme measures to try and make this deal happen. But it's clear, while Newcastle still want to do a deal, they are exploring other options, because Brentford insist it's not for sale.
Well, Wissa then very much running out of time if he wants to force that move, with just over 2 weeks left to go in this transfer window. We're going to stay with Newcastle because they are set to sign Aaron Ramsdale on a season-long loan from Southampton, which includes an option to buy. Now, he arrived in Newcastle earlier on for his medical ahead of completing that deal. Eddie Howe was asked about the goalkeeper earlier, but as always, gave nothing away.
No idea that you might know more than me, but yeah, it's difficult for me to comment until any player is 100% signed. But of course, as I said all this week, yeah, we are looking to add to the squad.
Ya saltan 1K y el barrio. Es determinante cuánto daño puede hacer el conjunto de 1K, sobre todo con Granero en esas primeras de cambio en la salida de escalera. Así que esa parte del partido va a ser absolutamente clave para el equipo de Iker Casillas. Por cierto, felicitar porque ha venido una buena afición de 1K.
Tiene la pelota, Gerard Noya encara, sigue Noya, Noya dispara, Arnalot.
80 paradas.
paradas ya para Arnalot. Gil Vidal ataca desde la derecha el número 9. Gil Vidal con el centro, buena pelota, Arché con la rodilla le pegó. Pues es el que desatasca un poco el partido, ¿no? Con centros, ojo ahí, se golpeó, el remate, ¡gol! ¡Mar Valiente! ¡Gol! Del barrio, marca Mar Valiente. Esa banda izquierda que es terreno de los cañonazos de Granero, a la que tengo un mínimo de espacio, le pega Granero. Bueno, pues es decirlo, y ahí lo tenemos. El tema es que el remate le ha salido centrado. Abraham, buena pelota, banda derecha. Vamos a ver qué hace ahí Fran Rodríguez. Se mete en el área, sigue Fran. ¡Qué bien, Fran! Se va de dos, el remate fuera.
¡Chicos!
A ver si acierta. ¡Claro que
Mira
sí!
que...
Busca el barrio el segundo gol. Arché. Arché para Gil. Gil que le puede pegar a este Gil. Buen recorte. Gil al palo. ¡Le manda Arché!
¡Dios! ¡No! Madre mía, qué parada. Y a centímetros del remate, ¿eh?
No, la reacción ha sido impresionante. ¡El disparo! ¡Madre de Dios! ¡Otro que vuela! ¡Otro más! Que está la pelota para John de la Cruz, la quiere levantar, vuelve a pegar la pelota en el cuerpo de un jugador del barrio, el remate con la puntera y acaba deteniendo a Gerard Vacas. Será córner favorable a 1K. Bueno, a ver.
Gol doble.
Gol doble. A ver, saque de banda. Balón puesto en movimiento. Intentaba rematar Mar Valiente. El remate. ¡Gol! ¡Paufer! ¡Gol! ¡Del Barrio! ¡Le pegó con el alma! ¡Paufer!
Y es…
¡Penalti
¡Madre
normal!
mía lo de los penaltis!
¡Penalti normal! Y el que quiere hacer el 0-3 es el número 4, pega Valiente. ¡Vaya cañón! ¡Gol! Ahí están Arnalot y Vacas como candidatos, como guardametas, y también Mar Valiente y Pau Ferojo la recuperación. Tiene la pelota al Barrio que puede sentenciar el remate. ¡Gol!
Knockout.
¡Gol!
¡Let's go, Barria! Ponme el 5, ponme el 5, ponme el 5.
El cambio del partido ha sido radical en los últimos 10 minutos. El balón que lo tiene. ¡Ojo!
¡Ay, ay, 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 ay! Jaimitada.
Marca de nuevo el Barrio, gol de Fran Fuentes. El equipo de Juan Arroita, que no ganaba un encuentro con esta tranquilidad, entre comillas, al final, con un margen tan amplio, con 2 goles dobles que han hecho pasar el partido del 0-3 al 0-7.
Paufer, ha costado, pero por fin ha llegado esa victoria tan deseada con goleada.
Ha costado mucho, pero bueno, le damos emoción hasta el momento final, recta final, y ahora, pase lo que pase con Pío, nos lo jugaremos contra ellos.
Eso te iba a decir, pase lo que pase con Pío, la semana que viene, o ellos, o tú, o tu ex equipo, o tú.
Bueno, o el Barrio o ellos, pero sí. La vida, yo qué sé, no sé, son cosas muy raras que suceden, pero ahí estaremos. Ahora estoy en el Barrio, así que espero que gane el Barrio.
Enhorabuena y a disfrutarlo.
Gracias.